Try it again, Mongo.
Trying again. Here we go.
All right. Just getting everything set up, making sure we have the right mic working. How's everybody doing on this Friday night? Thank you for joining us. We got Chucky V in the house tonight. We're going to be talking to Chucky V. He is pretty much a Santino Brothers production. We're going to be talking about the unsung hero, right? So one of the unsung heroes of Santino Brothers Wrestling, doing this podcast, we're looking to highlight the alumni of Santino Brothers. So what better way to do that with Charlie Wu today?
Right. We were just talking about cameras earlier.
Mr. Chastain. Oh, we were talking about cameras earlier. Ozzy Oswald, Crazy Train is in the house. Good seeing Crazy Train here today. So we got Charlie Wu coming up. But we were talking about cameras. And I was like, Mongo was saying, hey, so we still need to get stuff. So I got everything is what I told him. I got everything. I got the truss, got the lights, got the microphones. I got everything. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have everything.
Right.
Need cameras.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was actually talking to him about getting cameras. But they all have to be the same.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise you can have like different film, I guess.
Right.
I guess. Yeah. Different visual.
But you also said there's a few other pieces that you wanted to add to the trust. What were those pieces? Would you get different lighting?
Oh, I would get extra pieces to make it bigger, make the truss bigger. I don't know if we necessarily need more lights, but we just need more pieces to make the truss bigger.
So would you get the little squares, or would you get full on?
Oh no, I'd get a couple I'd probably get a couple of 1-footers, couple of 2-footers, 4-footers, and then maybe a big dog, Cousin Dave is in the house. What's up, Cousin Dave?
Cousin Dave.
Yeah, Cousin Dave.
Hey, another unsung hero of Santino Brothers Wrestling, right? Behind the scenes. Cousin Dave was taking pictures for us on the early days, like probably about 10 years ago when we did show up in Bell for sure, right?
Right.
We weren't even here in Bell Gardens yet. So good seeing you, Cousin Dave, man. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Richard Martinez is in the house. Good seeing you, Richard Martinez.
Is that the same Richard Martinez who used to take pictures for us before?
Yeah, another unsung hero, right, of Santino Brothers Wrestling.
Pretty lucky.
Wrestling.
And Lucha Girls Wrestling, yeah.
We took a lot of our early pictures.
Yeah, so.
And photography work for pro wrestling is not easy.
No, it's not.
You got to be quick. You got to know what's going on. You got to know what's going on before it even happens, so you can be at the right spot. Because if the time you try to take that shot, the move's already done, and you're like, man, and you don't want to have 200 shots of not great shots.
Yeah.
But you're going to get a lot of, it's just you got to take a lot of shots.
I always like to say, hey, don't give me 200 shots of the match. Give me 30 shots, and I'm going to pick the best 10.
Right.
30 shots.
Right. Even picking 30 because you take a lot during the shows,
Yeah. Hey, Cousin Dave says he's getting new gear soon. All high-end stuff. So that's what we actually need to do. Right. Is we have our cameras like the Nikons. They're kind of old, right?
What do you mean they're kind of old? They are old.
Where the hell did we get them anyway? Did we get them new?
Yeah. No.
The Nikons?
No. Yeah, the Nikon.
We bought them from somebody. I don't remember who.
2 of the same ones?
I think we
bought the first one, and then we bought the second one a couple years later.
We bought it brand new.
I know Zocre sold us another video camera.
4K video camera. So, but yeah, I can't even remember. We got the. Hey, we used to film.
Camera guys, what's a good camera to get?
Yes.
We need help.
We used to film with the flip cam.
Yes.
HD flip cam, and you press a little button and it comes out like a switchblade, and that's the USB, and you put it into your computer, and we lived and died by that. That's what got Santino Brothers YouTube page going. Then
the phone came along and killed that.
Yeah, because when the smartphones were out, I was looking for flip phones. Hey, they don't sell flip phones no more. What's going on with that? They were like, get a smartphone.
Right. They were like, you were old. Get with it.
Yeah. We had like a Pixie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we did have Pixies.
Yeah. Before the Razor.
Yeah, we actually did.
Then we got Razors.
Robert Solano, Solozano on YouTube is in the house. Good seeing you. Thank you for watching. Dane Burns on Facebook is watching. Good seeing you, Dane. Dean
Isaac
Burns.
Martinez.
Isaac fucking Martinez. We're talking about unsung heroes of Santino Brothers Wrestling. Another unsung hero of Santino Brothers Wrestling would be Isaac Martinez.
Yes.
Isaac is always working on the sound. I think we've even put him on lights a couple of times.
And that's just fast training. It's not like you're taking a course sometimes.
No, sometimes it's like
you show up and it's like, okay, you're going to do lighting today. And it's like, what? I've never done lighting.
Hey,
well, you are today.
Hey, Robert on YouTube says that there's a lot of buzz on the iPhone with filming on their camera. Maybe an iPhone. I mean, he's right, because the commercials, when they're advertising the iPhone, they're basically advertising like, hey, become a
12, dude.
I know, right? Because that's what I do. I live in I don't even like the big cameras. I really don't. Hey, give me an iPhone and I'm good. I film everything on the phone. I really do.
So you're gonna get an iPhone?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Well, Pete Trerise, I always mispronounce your last name, and I'm sorry, is saying a Black Magic Ursa Mini 4K.
Black Magic Ursa Mini 4K. Good seeing you, Pete, my friend on Facebook. Hey, we gotta check that out, right? Because he's probably like, hey, these guys want a flip phone, so let me get them that, right?
Let's see.
Let's see. We have a wrestling question. Let's answer that before we get Charlie Wu in. Boys, I got a question. I'm 15 and been wanting to be in the business since I was like 5. Next year, I'm going to my local wrestling school. Only problem is I'm getting my second brain surgery. But you're definitely going to have to consult with your physician, with your doctor, about the physicality of professional wrestling. But if he gives you the green light and says it's okay, then yeah, I mean, definitely you're going to go ahead and pursue it. If you're scared about it and wondering about it, I mean, I would, definitely give it some time after that surgery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely give it time after the surgery. I would definitely speak with your doctor openly and let him know exactly what it is you want to plan on doing. And there's no safe way to do wrestling, but there's the safest way possible to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's going to, be the determining factor for that. And, God forbid they don't recommend you to be in the ring, then there's so many different opportunities and different jobs you can do within the wrestling business as well.
Yeah. I mean, even if you can't physically wrestle, yeah, we're talking to the unsung heroes today. So this is a great episode to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch about that. So, all right, so we actually have a Charlie is in the fucking room.
Charlie Woo!
Yeah, Charlie Woo is in the room. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and bring him in.
Right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring Charlie in the room, and then we'll go ahead and get talking to Charlie. All right, so we'll be right back, guys. All right, we are actually in the room. Here he is in the house, Charlie Woo.
Woo! Nice.
What's up, my friend? I'm so glad that you actually answered the message.
Right.
I do apologize for that delay. I was actually I was hesitant at first because I was thinking like, what could I talk about? And I guess I could give that like the non-wrestler aspect, the behind the scenes stuff. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the people who work behind the scenes. And I miss all of you guys, Joey, Mongol, and Sylvia, as well as Robbie.
Yeah, man. Hey, yeah, definitely. Right. I mean, we're doing the podcast, right? We're not doing classes right now. I don't have all the content that I used to have. So what better way to fill the content than to highlight the alumni and definitely you were one in mind that I wanted to get onto the podcast when we started this. So I'm glad that you're on and we could talk to you and pick your brain a little bit. We were just talking about cameras and what kind of equipment that we need at Santino Brothers. So it's going to be a great episode.
I'll do what I can and give you a little insight. And if anybody has like non-wrestling questions or like how do you get involved without having to be in front of the camera, I mean, I can give you my perspective and what I do and what I'm trying to do. So I'm down. Hope it's a good episode. I hope people benefit from it.
Awesome. So, let's go ahead and start off. I want to ask you, so what got you to want to break in to the wrestling business? Have you been in the wrestling business for a long time, or at an older age, right? Did you decide I want to break into the wrestling business, or how did it happen, Charles?
In reality, I'm like your generation, a little bit older. And for the longest time, I never knew how you get into the business. And after college, I went to the Philippines. I was doing the work of the Lord for a while. Afterwards, started working here and there, but I never knew anything about independent wrestling. And then another time when I was in the Philippines, I started like researching like local wrestling schools in Southern California because I heard some kind of blip about it. No, I heard a blip about something about PWG at one point. Like this is like maybe mid 2000s. And I was like, what is this? So I started seeing local wrestling and I was like, what? Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, PWG. There's actually local shows, but I was in the Philippines at that time. And eventually I came back here to the US and I'm thinking, oh, I'm too old. It's just, I loved it. And I was one of the few of my friends that still stuck with wrestling. I mean, a lot of people, their wrestling interest actually dies after college or even after high school. And even after junior high school. But I still loved the pageantry of wrestling. I was really into like the production of wrestling because I knew wrestling was fake, but I knew that the bumps were real. And I knew that though, because I logically versus a real people who keep saying wrestling's fake and it's not a real fight. I'm like, well, look at the athleticism that I knew it's not a real fight in a sense that the fighting, like boxers have like one match or one bout, like how many months in between, but wrestlers like week in, week out, multiple times within a week. And so, I knew there was athleticism and there was the pageantry of the show. And I just loved all of it. And growing up, I always liked production. I liked when everyone plays a role into wrestling or in a show and it comes out to be great. So growing up, that was always my interest. And I never felt that I was big enough to be a wrestler. So fast forward all the way to about 2015, thinking that I was already over the age to get into wrestling. I was thinking, well, there should be like, and discovering SoCalUncensored.com. I was like, wow, why isn't there like an ESPN version of the SoCal wrestling scene? So that was my first start. I started going to shows and I created this YouTube channel called Verbal Wrestling. And I went to all these different shows and I would grab it on my phone and I would try to clip like a real preview of a lot of these shows. And a lot of people, wrestlers liked it because there wasn't like a third party, you're not associated to a school. You get that third party perspective, people appreciating matches and appreciating even promotions, because I like places like MPW was like a place that I thought felt really homely, that if you're a fan and you want to feel close to the fans as well as to the wrestlers, I thought that was like a great place to go. And then, going to Santino, the thing is, when I was going to all these shows, I was noticed Santino guys were like everywhere. And then I discovered where the Santino shows were and that they're running in Bell Gardens. And so I started going to the shows. I'm still doing Verbal Wrestling. And then after a while, I realized a lot of the guys that are wrestling aren't really that athletic. They're not like, not saying the Santino guys. I'm just thinking in general, like some schools really just showcased students that I don't believe, even before knowing anything, that I didn't believe were really ready. Because what annoyed me as a fan and as someone that was trying to like capture and try to at least help promote the Southern California scene is to have footage of the guy wrestling, and then you can see that the guy is thinking in the ring and he doesn't know what to do next, and he's like wondering, is like, what's happening? And I'm seeing this, I'm like, how hard is it? So I did one of the Santino Bros tryouts and got my ass kicked. And I was intrigued. I was thinking maybe I should get into wrestling. And that year in 2018, it was like your fall class. I wanted to join, but I just kind of hesitated and the time passed. But lo and behold, you said, well, we're also going to offer this advocates class. And I'm like thinking, advocates, I don't mind being a manager, but I know there has to be something with production. And that's when I started getting more involved. So as a fan and discovering the scene kind of late, like I would say in the late 2000s, and realizing how accessible it is here in Southern California, that rekindled my desire to be able to watch it. And even talking to wrestlers after as a fan, seeing how they're just Joe Schmoes. It's like family, because a lot of wrestlers are actually good people. It's just kind of like I felt that I could actually try to be involved, and the advocate class was actually the first thing. So something I always wanted to do. I never got into the ring growing up or even later on in life, only because I felt like I couldn't do it. Taking the advocates class and taking bumps during the advocates class kind of felt I could actually do this. And, lo and behold, I'm actually now doing production. I'm doing reffing. I have trained, and eventually the woo will have its day in the light in the ring. But that's basically what it is. It was something that I wanted to get into, but didn't know how to, and didn't even know of the Southern California indie scene. But, if you really have that desire, I mean, Southern California before COVID really had a lot of opportunities throughout like LA Valley area, throughout LA area, Orange County, San Diego. It's like, if you're interested, it's out there. You just got to look for it.
Yeah, right. And you talk about like how the advocates had to take bumps, right? Because you can't just break into this wrestling business and it can't just be easy, right? Yep. We gotta let you know what it feels like to be a wrestler. I just wanna be an advocate, hold the camera. It doesn't matter, brother.
You gotta feel it. But you know what? That class was, I remember the night that we were teaching them bumps. They had the most deer in the headlight, wide eye, yet so fucking excited, like, hell yeah, let's do this. So it was really cool. Like, that was a magical class.
Yeah, I remember, Charles, you were one of the better bumps, to be honest. Yeah, taking those bumps, and you were very eager to take them. So it's good to hear, the background story behind how you came in. And I agree with you about how wrestling needs like an ESPN.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's a great idea, especially with the technology that's available. Just to all of us, to be able to do the podcast now and make it look professional or whatever the case is, So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea, Charles.
Yeah, I just thought, especially with all the mini shows, because what kind of sparked that idea, and this was around 2014, 2015 that I really started going to shows and thinking about it, is that when you go to the SoCalUncensored.com website, when we were all running shows, almost every week there was a show, whether it's going to be a regular, like a non-lucha show or a lucha show, whether it's like hardcore UEW or just a regular wrestling, or whether it's luchador, lucha libre, it was just like, it's around, and every place had their own niche fans. And I'm like, why do people not know about this? This is like, and the hard part about that was this though, is especially for Santino's, is Santino guys may be like the heel in one promotion and then the face and the title holder in another promotion. So it's like, how do you tell the story of a promotion when that same wrestler is playing two different characters in two different promotions, telling two different stories?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, I guess you're going to have to definitely break down the fourth wall on that and still try to get the point across, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, so you talked about you loving wrestling growing up. Who was your favorite wrestler, and what promotion did you watch?
Growing up was always WWE. That's just because, back in the 80s and 90s, we barely got WCW here in LA. And it was until cable and TBS that they started airing that. But favorite wrestler, and just, It's not because he's Asian, but I loved Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. It was just because him and Tito Santana were the most nimblest wrestlers that I would see, so fluid in the ring, And then even when Bret Hart, his tenacity in the ring, even just as the Hart Foundation, not as a solo wrestler, just how you maneuver within the ring always awed me. Is just how they're able to get out of holds and make the flow of a match be so smooth. Those were my favorite wrestlers, but I would say Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, just with his arm drags, when people run in and he's doing those arm drags, awesome.
Yeah, I was just watching a match of the Dragon versus Jake the Snake, Dragon versus Snake. And yeah, I just love the arm drags, right? The way the psychology of the match, on top of the selling, the incredible selling that he gets you invested into the matches. Yeah, I love me some Ricky the Dragon. You got a favorite match? What's your favorite match?
I haven't visited any of those in a long time, but I could still just remember WrestleMania 3, Steamboat versus Macho Man.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that, and I learned this it was either one of the like Stone Cold podcasts or whatever, is that Steamboat and Macho Man actually scripted and choreographed that match like months in advance. Yeah. And whenever they went to kind of promote the match to the house shows, they would always practice what's, step 3, step 4, what's step 4, they would quiz each other. And that by the time the WrestleMania match, they were really going through the motions of their steps. But it was like he said, after that, it was just like this huge weight lifted off of him because he didn't have to think about that anymore. But because of what WrestleMania 3 was, how big it was, and it was like the first of its kind in like a big a dome, they really choreographed it. But their match was like, it flowed. It was fluid. I remember bits and pieces of it. I haven't visited in a while.
Yeah. I totally remember them that they did go over. I remember in Ric Flair's book, Ric Flair says he was going to wrestle Macho Man Randy Savage, and Macho was like, "Hey, why don't you come over to the house and we'll practice the match?" And Ric Flair was like, "Practice the match? That's not how I do it, man. A real wrestler works on the fly and wrestles in the ring." And I remember reading that, and I love me some Macho Man. It kind of broke my heart that he was shitting on him. And I was kind of like, man, Ric's right, though. You got to be able to just do it in the ring.
Yeah.
But, everybody's different, I guess, right?
Everyone is different.
Everybody is different. So, so you were doing the verbal podcast, or the verbal
wrestling.
Verbal wrestling. He decided to go to Santino Brothers Wrestling. And I quickly realized, like, Charlie knows what he's doing in production.
Right.
Charlie knows what he's doing in production. Like, did you film any other? So what Charles does is in our matches or for our shows. Why don't you tell people what you do for the Santino Brothers shows, Charles?
Everything that you see on camera is all pretty much dictated and edited through me, and that would be the essence of what I do. So if there's a show, I make sure that I may not be holding a camera. If I'm not, I have about 3 camera guys, if not 4, and I'm either on headsets telling them what to do, what to capture, as well as to make sure that I understand what story the wrestlers are trying to tell in there. So if they have spots, I'm making sure that the camera angles, because what killed me a lot of times when I was watching indie shows, like local indie shows from other promotions, is the spot I could tell that something was supposed to be captured on camera, but was never captured. So we're kind of confused and lost. So what I do is I kind of handle the video editing. I help direct the videos or the cameras, and I video edit. And I make sure that, or I do my best to make sure that Santino Bros has at least a video quality that's good enough to be shown on TV. That's my goal.
Yeah, and it totally is, right? The Up All Nights, he edits them. He makes the titles for them, the name titles, everything like that. Yeah, the graphics. And I like the. How do you like if you don't have the camera? Do you and you're watching in the back, right? And you're actually on the you're in their ear and you're telling them what to do. Hey, I need you to zoom in. I need you to focus on the ankle, or I need you to come out. I really appreciate that with Charles doing that, because I always thought with Santino Brothers, everything's within house,
Right. Well, that's the cool part about it is he's not working with a professional crew. He's working with our students. These are like wrestling students, but he knows how to take that leadership and he knows what to look for and how to direct them exactly to where, half the videos come out better than half the other camera shows I've seen. Not trying to put down any other shows, but it's true. It's like your passion and your love shows through in your directions that you're giving wrestling students with cameras, and it comes out great.
Yeah, and sometimes he doesn't even have the same camera people.
Yeah,
right. Always working with someone fresh.
Yeah, always working with someone fresh. So,
but I have one question.
Okay.
off topic here. How did you come up with the character Charlie Wu, and who is Charlie Wu?
Do you want the long story or the short story?
Give it to us all, my friend.
How do you want to tell it?
Yeah, talk to us.
It was like all because of advocates class. I never joined the advocates class to really be a manager. I was looking at it and I'm like, there has to be something with production. And when we were taking the classes and Kevin kept was recording our shows and we're doing like shows every class. And I'm looking at it, it's like, I could assist to this. I could do the camera. And I was like, it was kind of like with you, Joey, it's like when you have an idea and I don't have the equipment or the knowledge, I buy the equipment and I get the knowledge and then it just builds every show that we do. So like if you watch Up All Night 1 to Up All Night 10, totally different. Production's totally different. Or is it 10 or 12? I forgot how many episodes you ran. I think it's 12, right?
It might have been 12. Yeah, I think we went one full year.
Yeah. So it's like so doing that, I know that advocate class, I still had to be like a character. No idea what the character. Like I could talk and I could also and I like joking around and I always wanted to like make people laugh. But it's like one of the characters that I wanted to do was based off Tom Vu, real estate mogul. Invest in him and he'll make you rich. If you remember this guy from back in the 80s, he'll always talk like this and we'll talk like this. And he'll all like, you go ahead, buy over here and I will show you how to become rich. And I thought it was hilarious. So I wanted to be the first iteration of how the evolution of how Charlie Wu came out was that I wanted to be that. And his name was going to be Rai Wei. And you're going to win. I'll teach you a manager. I'll manage you. You win the Rai Wei. From me, Rai Wei. And so that was Rai Wei. But he was supposed to have a brother who wrestled because I knew eventually I wanted to get into the ring named Ron Wei. And so Rai and Ron Wei were there. So when I take the class, I was starting to do Ron Wei. I was trying to think, I was supposed to be a little bit like this. I was going to wrestle. No. It was supposed to be comedy. And part of it was just to make everybody laugh because I find those characters kind of hilarious when you kind of mock a lot of the way the Kung Fu movies are. So that was Ron Wei. But eventually I was going to shows and everybody kept saying, every chop was always a woo, woo, woo. So in class, I'm trying to do Ron Wei, but I was thinking, I always wanted to do woo because the idea was whenever I chop, everybody goes, woo. My name was just going to be Woo. I would be like, deer in the headlights. What? So, woo. That was supposed to be the running joke because my name was Woo. So I tell the story, I think, and it was you and Robbie were chatting, and I was telling you the story about Woo. Whenever you chop, woo, deer in the headlights. What? Or deer in the headlights. Squirrel. And then Robbie goes, Charlie Woo. And I was like, wow, that actually makes the whole name complete. Charlie Woo. And then I was like, yeah, Charlie Woo. And then ideally in my mind, Charlie Woo is the guy on the basketball court that talks a lot of crap, and thinks that he could dunk on everybody, but totally sucks. And like it was just obviously, yeah. So it was like, and I realized in order to do the comedy wrestling, I really have to learn how to wrestle so I don't injure somebody, neither get injured. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I had to learn how to properly wrestle and not just be a comical character in the ring. And so it became Charlie Woo. And the cool thing about, and I always tell this to all the students that are training, that if you have an idea of a character, try to wrestle in that character. Because this is what I've learned. One, when I wrestle as Charles Villarubia wrestling, I don't know what I'm doing. I get really flustered. I'm like, what do I do next? Because I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. I get lost. Robbie would just say, hey, be Charlie Woo. Where's Charlie Woo? And I'd be like, woo. And I'd know how to move because I was no longer thinking. I was just thinking about, how would Charlie Woo attack a person? How would Charlie Woo take a person down? And so when I always say try, and the beautiful thing about that is that I would do stuff, and then people in class, especially Robbie, will say, you should do this and call it this funny name. And it also added to the repertoire of Charlie Woo. So that's where Charlie Woo came from. It just became an idea, personality-wise, Kevin Hart trash talking, guy that thinks he knows everything but really sucks. But I also want to eventually try to incorporate like Jackie Chan as well as Jerry Lewis, whereas, there is fluidity, but there's zaniness to it. And I think, I may not be able to do a lot of the stuff that other people do, but I know that the audience would be entertained and buy a shirt, Bob Evans, someone, make money.
I love that.
I always found Charlie Woo very entertaining in class to really take the chop. And the best part was why Charlie Woo would do the chops and and then, he would be this comedic character, and whoever he'd be in the ring with would maybe stop no selling. And Charlie Woo would notice the no selling. And so when he would turn around, then the guy would chop Charlie Woo, and so the Woo would be going the other way, and I always found that so entertaining about and I think that's what it really comes down to in professional wrestling, right? It's not even about what you can do physically in the ring. It's how you can connect with the crowd and capture their attention.
Using your skills.
Yeah, and being memorable. I got a question for you, Charles. So look at it. Charles is my production guy, man. I got a question. Charles, we need to figure out how to go live. And I know we try to do that. I got a question. We're doing this podcast. And you hear Sylvia, and she's all the way over there, and then me and Mongo are sharing this mic. What do we got to do so we can all have a mic without it bouncing back? I guess the sound bouncing back into all the mics. Do you know anything about that?
Like the loud screechy noise?
I don't know.
I think that are you using a USB mic?
Yeah.
Is your microphone plugged into a USB?
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of things you do is my first thing is, first of all, I would actually just get an audio mixer. Like you have a audio mixer there. If you could just get your regular mics plugged into the audio mixer, send that audio mixer signal to a computer, and you may need an interface if your computer doesn't accept a audio to digital kind of chain. That's one thing that you can do. There's a lot of also audio mixers that actually plug directly into your computer via USB that'll actually read all the signals. But that's what I would do. But you need some kind of hub, whether it's going to be a software program. Even if it's a software program, you got to still have to have an input of each of those devices into your mic or into something that actually can be transmitted or what the computer could read as a signal. But that's what I would do. It's still just going to be one signal going into one computer output, but you could actually have a mixer where they all connect so that it goes into there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does make sense. And I know where we do have the mixer, but I'm that thing is so big. They probably have small. They have small audio mixers for stuff like this that we're doing.
Do you recommend a small one?
No, I don't. I don't really research a lot of computer stuff. I mean, as I say, this whole COVID thing, I really haven't done much as far as production is concerned, only because really the Santino shows were the ones that fed my curiosity of, well, we can try this, well, we can try that. Now that I don't have that machine, I kind of like, okay, now I'll get into gardening, or now, I'll start like painting my room, and I'm doing this like homeowner stuff now. But I could try to research a lot of that stuff for you. But
we'll definitely look. You will definitely look into it. So you bring up that, right? So you haven't had the Santino Brothers shows, to experiment on, but Santino Brothers shows aren't the only shows that you've worked, right? You've worked for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and also New Japan Pro Wrestling. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was actually through Dave Marquez production. So Dave, okay, awesome dude. Get to know him if you really want to get into the production. And so I worked Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, do camera work for them. And Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and the New Japan Wrestling Dojo LA, they are, I guess you could say, they're sister companies, or they have an association. So that's why a lot of New Japan stuff looks like a Hollywood wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, all produced or going through Dave Marquez. And but yet New Japan is still New Japan. Championship Wrestling Hollywood is still Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And it's a great experience if you really want to. That's the beautiful thing about like Southern California in general. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is like nationwide and actually has outlets in other countries, and is also streamed. And that's the closest thing that we here living locally can actually experience an actual TV production here in our backyard. Other places are, you have to go to Florida if you want to try to get into WWE, which is, a big thing to get into. AEW. After those, Impact WWE, AEW, Impact are probably the biggest ones. After that, the most broadcast show out there on broadcast TV is literally Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And so it's a great experience to get into. And I actually was able to do that because I was able to be a part of the Santino Bros Advocates class because of Kevin, as well as Jeremy Marcus, who got us to kind of help out and do ring crew over there. And aside from that, I also ref in a lot of other promotions.
That's right. You do a lot of reffing. You reffing for Wrestling Pro Wrestling, Brian Kendrick's Wrestling Pro Wrestling, among other. What do you like the best? What's your experience with reffing first?
I like reffing. Reffing. The first time I was reffing, and the very first time was actually the Advocates class, and it's so weird because in my mind's eye, I have the best seat in the house of watching a wrestling show. I mean, you're not going to be a ref and not be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So when you're in there as a ref, your fanboy kind of comes out in the back of your head. You're like, oh, that's cool. Oh man. You're playing your role to kind of create law and order in the ring. But in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, damn. Oh man. I'm enjoying it. So I love being able to get that. And the negative for that, and I don't do it as often, but every now and then, is that I would forget to count because I was like shocked of what I just saw. I'd be like, oh. And in the back of my mind, if the wrestler doesn't yell at me, in the back of my mind, I'm like, someone should be counting. And I'm like, snap, I'm the one that's supposed to count. It's me. And so I enjoy reffing. It has a great function as if you're looking for like things outside of just being a wrestler, as being a part of the show. Reffing is a great piece of the puzzle to be a part of if you don't feel that you could actually do the physicality of wrestling itself. But don't think that reffing is not physical, because doing your up downs, it blows you up. And I'm so sore because where a wrestler could actually do like a 15-minute match, I may do like 3 matches going up and down constantly. And, so it is a workout. It is physical, but it's kind of one of those checklists that you get that you always wanted to try. And I did try that. And I do enjoy it because one thing that annoys me about refs in general is looking uninterested in a match. Like if you watch some of the local shows, and I won't name any refs' names, and there's actually every year there's always a new crop of referees. One of the things that I hate seeing, and it could even be on TV or like internet, is when the ref is not invested in the match itself. And he's just watching it. He's kind of like lazily walking around. And I'm like, dude, the referee kind of like, he has to be the sheriff, making sure that the bad guys don't cheat, and the good guys aren't gonna cheat. So if you don't try to lay down the law, or at least have this appeal that you're invested to make sure that your eyes are making sure that things are straight, it's kind of like, why are you in the ring? Why are you even reffing? You know what I mean? You're just going to let it go. And so I always try to do that. And a lot of people enjoy watching me ref just because it looks, I learned from Jeremy Marcus. I emulate Rick Knox. I see these guys really into it. Those are local guys that I love watching referee, and there's still like a bunch of others, but reffing is actually a great thing to get into, and being a part of the advocates class, when that's kicked in, you will have that opportunity to even practice reffing.
Yeah, you bring up Jeremy fucking Marcus. Jeremy Marcus, right? And this guy, right? You talk about, hey, if you can't be physically in the ring, something that's a little bit easier is reffing. And I love that the first thing you said was, but I just want to let you know, it's not easy. It's not easy to be a ref, especially if you got someone like Jeremy Marcus, springboard ref. No one knows he can springboard, because I'm over here all old school, Charles. And I'm all like, hey, make everything make sense. But I'm over here actually telling Jeremy, hey, Jeremy, why don't you springboard in the ring, just to kind of stand out a little bit. It's like, no, I'm the authority figure. I can't do that. And he has taken the training that he has gotten and became a student of the game and taken it even farther. Like he actually so we started an advocates class late January of 2020 before COVID hit, right? And Jeremy has taken it upon himself to still guide the 3 students that want to be referees, and he's even taken them to a ring that they can find around that's open. But yes, he is not easy. He's always telling me, they're all going to do burpees, they're all going to do squats, I'm going to make them bump, and he's always about like, I'm not going to make this shit easy for them, because I know they probably think I'm just going to waltz into the wrestling business. Right. You know what I mean? And now I'm part of it. I'm part of everybody. But Jeremy.
And he's jacked.
Yeah. Jeremy.
He didn't just stop at ref. He came in and he trained as a wrestler sometimes. He learned how to take bumps. He learned how to take moves. So he basically was like, fuck it. If I'm going to do it right.
He put in the work. Right.
So it's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's just as like, if you were to see a young Kaos and a young Mongo and Supreme starting up Santino Brothers back in 2008, like we were incredibly hard on everybody, right? Like the gatekeepers of you can't break into this business. You got to earn your way into this business. And Jeremy has really taken that upon himself to take that and
you want to weed out,
and it's shown in his training with you, and for you to be doing a ref. And I love your refereeing, right? Because you also put the bandana on when you're doing the wrestling, pro wrestling. And I'll be honest with you, Charles, I used to hate that shit. When there would be a referee out here, bad way, like 95, mid 90s, and they would wear like a little bandana, and I'd be like, man, look at that guy trying to get over, brother. Not knowing the history of him, that he's been wrestling for years, and sit down, kid, and shut the fuck up, But I used to hate that. Now I love it. I kind of like it sometimes,
Brings a different style.
Yeah, hey, why not, right?
I think it's
So
awesome.
Well, it's wrestling, pro wrestling. I mean, if a ref can't be a character in a ring at wrestling, pro wrestling, I wouldn't know where else, because it kind of fits the Brian Kendrick's theme of the whole wrestling show. And that was actually hard, because I kind of was like, it was their Halloween show. So I had my bandana, just let everybody know. I had these like fake huge glasses, and I would actually be squatted like this the that whole match, kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? It was part of it was just because it was a Halloween show, but it was it was really hard because I was really squat like 90% of that match just to kind of like play that samurai ref character.
you know, hey, you know what I really love about Charles, and I'm going to tell you this now, if I haven't already, and I try to, because I know how hard Charles works. And I remember really when he was starting with us, right? And I tried not to take it easy on nobody. Hey, Charles, I know you're bringing all your cameras. I know you're filming, but you got to pay dues like everybody else. Everyone's meeting here at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., or whatever the case is. And Charles is lugging a ring around, you know, and but man, he'd be one of the hardest workers out there, you know. So I just want to praise you for that. Just like, because you know how much hard work it is, right? People show up to the show at 6 p.m., right? The fans, and then we have the show at 8, and we do it. But man, we are, especially us, we're there all day as Santino Brothers, and nobody knows what they're doing. In the sense that, hey, I decided to buy a truss. How are we going to put it up? I don't know. Maybe we should ask Rob Shit, see if he's got a ladder and figure it out. Like, you know what I mean?
And the lighting, how do we get the right lights?
Yeah.
Like, Robert, could you learn?
I love the spirit that you've able to see. Like, hey, I'm like, hey, I have an idea. I got no clue about it. Do you know anything about it, Charles? And Charles will go and say, this is what I got to do, you know, and he'd bring all this incredible equipment, and I'd be like, wow, I got to sit here and just try to figure out what he's doing.
It was overwhelming, but we had him here to help, so it helped a lot.
There's something funny. I don't know if you ever coined this, but I know Robbie always mentioned this. He goes, Santino runs the biggest, smallest show in Southern California. And Robbie would say, yeah, it'll be like, you know, Boss Man, you know, he's always like has these big ideas, and, you know, the show just gets bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden he'll have this idea and we won't know how to do it. And then he'll ask you, Charlie, and you'll be like, oh yeah, you could do this. You could do this. You could do this. And then the show gets bigger.
Yeah, right. I like embodying that, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but when we started with XPW, like I loved the fact of not just being part of a cool show, but being part of building that show.
Right.
Being a part of that growth, that makes other people say, I want to be there, and say, I'm helping build this. It's not just I'm part of a cool show, you know?
Right.
And I love that you embody that spirit with us, because man, he'd be the first. And I remember I'd see him and I'd be like, oh my God, Charles is still here at 2 a.m.
I know.
And I was like, in my head, I'm doing the whole show. I'm like, okay, Charles has to go home when the show's over. You know, and I remember I would tell you this, and you'd be like, "What? No, I'm not going home." And I come back and say, "Hey, you gotta go home, dude. You've been here all day. This is second shift, man. These guys got to do it now." And
no, he was there from beginning to end every time, whether it was a private show at a separate location, no matter how far away, or whether it was a show here at the dojo.
So what is that behind you of just wanting to help out for the school? Knowing you have to pay your dues, being forced to do it, or wanting to be part of build something. Like, what is that? What's that in you? Because, like, I'll be honest, there's a lot of students. You'd be like, saw them here at 6 a.m. I don't see them anywhere now. Like, or they'll come right when everything's set up and leave. Oh, I gotta leave early too, you know. And you're like, come on, man. So, what is it about you that work ethic? Where do you get that work ethic?
I just think that's just how my mind works. And it's been working like that since I was a kid, because as a kid, I was very active in my church, and we used to always do a lot of like shows and activities. And, you know, one of the things that I do is when I see someone's good at one thing, I look around to find out what's not being done. and to get that done, because I know that if no one does it, it's never going to get done, and we're going to get delayed. And like even as a kid, when we used to do those shows at church, I used to like MC, and I used to be able to talk a lot and be able to tell everybody what's happening, crack little jokes over here, and just and what people in the audience didn't know is I was actually buying a lot of time, because whoever's going to sing or whoever's going to perform whatever musical instrument, whatever they were going to do, they were never ready. And so at that early age, I would say that's like high school, during that time, I knew that when the behind the scenes people weren't ready, the people who are on stage has to we'll have to draw it out, or the show looks like crap because nothing's happening and everyone's just sitting there. What's happening? So even at that early age, I already understood, there are certain levels and phases that has to be done to put a show. And I really got a kick out of it, seeing everything happen. Like I love it when I see people with their specialties perform at their task correctly on cue. And then when the ball starts rolling, the motion gets rolling and the dominoes are falling. I just think that is just so awesome. It's kind of like when Eli writes the script and then what's happening there, and then the wrestlers are doing their stuff, and then I'm figuring out what's the spot that I need to catch. And so I go to the camera guy, the camera people, you need to capture here, and I need you to capture there, but at third person, I need you to capture there because someone's going to do a run-in, and therefore we need this reaction, but I need this to go over there. And then they're performing, and then you have Bob and Alyssa doing everything that they do, trying to paint the picture verbally, and then you have Isaac making sure the music cuts in. When you see all those parts move all in sync for the betterment of a show, it's just it's so awesome and very satisfying at the end of the day. Now, you're really working your butt off just to get to that level. But, that's kind of like our training, put in the work. Wrestling can be fun, but you got to work in order to get to the fun part. And sometimes the fun part is just putting on such a great show. And so when I see shows on YouTube and I see all the comments of everybody, that was a great show, part of me is thinking, the greatness of it is actually just the whole production that was done, from commentary, from music to lighting to camera to wrestling to reffing. Watching all that, I take pride that when people are complimenting a Santino show, it's all of us working in sync. And that kind of what drives me to want to get better, to want to make it look like TV, to actually know that this is what we can do in our school. Therefore, if you want to be a part of the school, you're more than welcome, but know that we're not just going to put you on the microphone and be like, hey, take a picture of me, I'm in the ring. We ain't going to do that. You got to build to that, because when you do it right, and we'll teach you how to get there, but when you do it right and the whole show flows, it's beautiful. Look at our results. Look how Ruby's up all night, how much in sync we get into that. And it's kind of like a drug for me, in a sense that everybody, does their role and we work in sync. And when the show looks really awesome on camera after the editing and everything's done, it's just really cool. It's just, there's a lot of work behind it, and getting it done is what drives me. And because the longer I delay in the edit, the longer it takes for people to actually really watch what we do at Santino's.
Yeah, right. That's a huge thing of what we do, right?
Right. First.
Yeah, of posting those videos and getting them out there, and everybody wants to see it. Talk about doing the up all nights, and I love the up all nights because that show, right, created for us to figure out how to use a lot of the equipment, or for me to figure out how to use a lot of the equipment. Give Ruby the chance to write the shows, and I would always write everything we would do. I'd say, have a spotlight, and we would say, well, let's try it now and see how it works and see how we can get it to go, and we were just talking to Mongo about how it really did feel, Charles, like it was coming together. We drew our biggest house in January 2020. And we had shows lined up at this place in Huntington Park, or where was it? Cudahy. And man, just COVID put us on a stop. So I'm totally eager. I'm ready to get back to it. About like with streaming live, still going back to figure that out, what we need to do because I know we tried going live a couple of times with our dojo shows, things like that. So
the hard part is that we would test one day and everything flowed, and then we would try to get everything up and running the day of the show, and I would have these issues with the internet, and it was just there was technical difficulties that it was hard to figure out what changed. Well, I know what changed is there's a lot of people moving around and things are just not getting plugged in, and it gets kind of chaotic on shows. But
it totally does. But yeah, I just want to thank you for all the work that you put in. I know it's a labor of love, but at the same time, you're doing it for the Santino Brothers, the brand, your school, and everything. But just without you doing it, I don't know if it would be produced,
Right.
So
it definitely wouldn't run as smooth.
It'd be put on raw. That's what Coach would do. Coach would just throw it up there raw. We filmed it. Here you go. You know what I mean? But yeah, I really want to take the time to thank you for all the work, and I look forward to getting back to it once everything can open up and get back to normal. I think a lot of people are waiting for that, just in general.
Right.
So I do have a question for you though.
Sure.
Charles. So what are the three most influential people to you?
Oh, I would I can't think is one person that I would mention is just creatively it would be actually be my high school photography teacher, because we would have, this is during black and white pictures, no digital. So, you film, develop it, go to the dark room, get it all printed. One thing, what I've learned from him, and this is what really kind of made me try to start thinking outside the box when I see it, is I would see a picture from a fellow student and be like, that's actually pretty cool. I like it. And he would tear it down. He'd be like, no, because look over here, look over there, look over there. And I would never see these things. To me, it's kind of like, if you take a picture of yourself, everybody's all happy. You know what I mean? But no one notices all the crap that's happening in the background of the shot. And so, if people just kind of be a little bit more sharper, you could actually have good shots with not so many things distracting in the background. But what my high school photography teacher would do is he would actually literally break things down. And I was looking at him So whenever we had class and he would actually have to have a picture and have to break it down, you know what I mean? I'd have to try to see how he would see it. That kind of trained me to kind of think from the different perspective. That made me kind of realize that you see it one way and it may be good, but, is it good in all angles? And, though this was a photography class, the principle of what he was doing is something that I've also did. So growing up, pretty much he would be someone that I would mention.
Nice.
He's the only one that I can think sticks out just because, everybody at different stages of their life kind of had someone that was a positive influence that helped you think in a different way. And when you think a different way, you basically are expanding your perspective on certain things. And then you expand your perspective, you now have the ability to kind of move a little bit more freely. And then it's now your choice to aim toward the direction you want to go. And, it's hard to kind of name all the various people in lives that kind of told me, don't do that, do it like this, do it like this, do it like this. And I'm I don't get it. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, boom, boom, boom. He shows me all these different things. And I'm like, I never saw that. And so that's like a lot of people whenever we would do shows, you guys don't, I could already see where the camera angles are. I could already see what people are looking at. And so I can kind of direct, like, even if I don't have a monitor, I could tell them, go over here, turn around, look it over here, get over there. Because in my mind's eye, I'm actually looking at the general direction of the camera shot. Because if I don't get the shot, it's like, I can't put it on camera or I can't put it on film for people to see. And it goes as it boils down, as I say, it's just people in life just help you kind of like expand your thinking. And through that allows you to just, grow as a person. I mean, I don't have any better answer than that.
Do you remember his name, your teacher's name?
Mr. Tally.
Tally. I totally understand what you're saying. Like I got Mr. LaSauer in Palisades High School history class. Very, very influential to me. Like I used to talk to him on like a normal level. Like, oh, he used to own a shoe store, like stuff like that. But, yeah, I totally get what you mean. Like these people that pass through your life, that really influence you. So I really appreciate it because it really gives me an insight to see like, oh, that's where his mind's going with the production. When he sees stuff, he's picking it apart. Charlie was looking at it, and he's saying, I can't get that shot. And that's why he's on that radio or directing it. So yeah, I think that's incredibly cool. We're coming down to the end. We're winding it down. I always got a question that I want to ask people is that if COVID and the pandemic ended right now, right? We've been closed down, man. It is coming up in about a year soon.
Yes.
And especially out here in Southern California. So if the pandemic ended and COVID was gone, what's one of the first things you would do?
I would find out what schedules are the Santino's wrestling training classes and get back into the ring. I do want to try to like attend the Los Lucha classes because one of my regrets is I think after you telling me how it's always more rolls than anything, it's not a lot of back bumps. The hard part about me or what happened, which kind of really slowed down my wrestle training, was when my dad passed away about almost 2 years ago, year and a half. There's just a lot of things that kind of had to get taken care of. And then the COVID hits, and then that also slowed everything down. So the woo never really got to, no one understands it. They know the name, but when you see the character, I think in reality, doing what I do is part to make you and Robbie laugh. If I can make you and Robbie laugh, then I know I got something hot. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally get that. That's what I say when I'm teaching these online classes. I'll tell the students, I'll say, hey, I'll try to sell so well that the referee or the wrestler will come and say, are you okay, brother? Like I'll be like, yeah, and that's when I know I got him, right? So I totally understand what you're saying.
Get over on the boys.
Man, that's amazing. I didn't think that was going to be the answer. I thought he was going to say I was going to go to lobster dinner or something like that. But Charles wants to get in the ring.
That's
Charles, right? He got unfinished business.
Charlie Wu in the ring. I even have like this thing I want to pitch for Up All Night once everything gets up and rolling that I think would be really hilarious and funny. But we got to see if and when that could actually come to fruition. But I have a bit that I wanted to do as Charlie Wu. I just think it's a hilarious. To me, it makes me laugh when I think about how I would actually do a match with somebody, or even the storyline, since Up All Night kind of is the most consistent kind of show that we're running in Southern California or in Santino's.
I really miss the Up All Nights.
I do.
It was a lot of work, but I love the barbecue aspect of it and the camaraderie of here. So here are some of the new students that never get to meet any of the older students, and it's like we would take that opportunity to mesh everybody together. Everybody would try to learn something new. Someone would have a new job. This is your new job in case we have to call upon you on a live show. But Man, those up all nights and real funny about those up all nights, right? We were doing those for a year, and then now all wrestling is pretty much what we were doing up all night.
Yeah, just private show live stream.
Private show live stream. So but just to tell you and probably all the listeners here, like I've been this month, what are we in the 5th day this month? I've been actively looking this entire month, like 5 days this week, for a building, finding out what problems that I'm actually going to be running into and getting a new building.
Finding out the safest way to open up.
And I thought about, like, one of the first things I thought about was the up all nights.
Yes.
And I thought, how can we try to do it? It obviously wouldn't be the same where we can have a barbecue and have everybody together, but maybe we'd be able to bring in, schedule people to come in, and we'll have to film it and then edit it all together or something. I don't know. Like, I was trying to think, because up all night was on my mind about one of the most important things to do, because I think it was something special.
It just brought us all together. It built the camaraderie.
That was one of the huge perks to it, was even Supreme being there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
With his Friday class.
And he would always bring a bakery good or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
He made his banana bread. It was the last thing he made, and I've been meaning to give him back his container. Yeah, his Tupperware, and I never got a chance to. So, but yeah, so I love those up all nights, man. I
have a question. So, Charlie Wu, if we were going to book you as a wrestler on an up all night, who would your first opponent be?
Well, part of the things that I wanted to do is actually run a reffing storyline that started with Milo. Remember how I screwed her over? You remember how, like, with the Dominations?
Yes.
I screwed over that match. So I kind of wanted to have a series of times when I'm screwing over Milo, just for her to finally get into the ring and have her take her, her revenge. Nice. It's a typical, like, outside person finally getting into the ring and then getting his butt whooped. That's what I always wanted to do. But there was that.
Yeah, I look forward to that, and what better place to see Charlie Wu's debut than up all night 13, 14, 15, or 16, or all of them. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it should be soon, but yeah, I look forward to it. I love doing the podcast to talk to you guys, the students, especially you, Charles, and just catch up with what's going on. But yeah, I look forward to it. So we're coming down to the end. Is there anything that all right, you could follow Charlie Wu at Mr. Chastastic at Instagram or Twitter, or even Charles.Villarubia.5 on Facebook. But is there anything that you want to end with? Anything you want to say? Because you do have fans, Charlie. You do have fans. Anything you want to say to your fans before we end the podcast?
The only thing that I would like to really say is not necessarily just fans, but just people that are interested to be in part of wrestling that don't plan to be wrestling. There are things that you can do to get into the business, quote unquote. First and foremost, be helpful and want to help out a promotion. The ring, and Kevin would say this, you're only in the ring for like about 5 minutes, especially as an advocate. But, you're there the whole day with the promotion. So it's like, if you want to really be involved in wrestling, be willing to help a promotion in setting up the ring, setting up the chairs, taking the gear to the back, cleaning up the ring while they splattered it with a bunch of thumbtacks, and do all that stuff. If you show your willingness to be a part of that, one, you will no longer just be a fan at a wrestling promotion. You'll be a part of the crew of a wrestling promotion. And if you find your niche that you actually have the gift of gab, there's commentating and as well as just ring announcing. You know what I mean? Some people are just really good at carrying a ring and they're happy with it. But that's not wrong, because I can say that whenever we do shows remotely and I'm carrying the ring and we're breaking it down, and I can see 5 of those students just sitting there laughing, and I'm like, I see you, I'll talk to Robbie later. I'll talk to Joey later, but I see you, because wrestling, a wrestling show and being a part of wrestling is starts all the way from the beginning of when they pull up the truck to the venue to when the truck gets packed and when you're back at place where you unload. That's a show for people in wrestling. It's not the 5 minutes that they're in the ring.
Yeah, or the 3-hour show, the cool part.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's there, right? And I'm glad that you bring that up because there will be times that'll often, Charles, how's this guy? He's not too good. Oh, you know what? I seen that too. I just wanted to make sure I'm not just singling this guy out. Oh, ask Mongol. He's been standing around and we talk. And I know there's a lot of people that they may shit on paying dues and this, that, and the other. It builds your work ethic.
Right.
Yep.
It shows me what your work ethic is. And I often will tell the students, if I see you putting the chairs back and we tell you to stack them and they're stacked like with no order, that shows me your work ethic. That shows me when you lift me up at 8 minutes, if you're tired, you're just going to drop me because you don't care.
Right.
And it goes that deep and it goes that far. I think that like you can never shit on the paying dues. And I love that you brought that up. And pitching that because there will be times we'll often talk Charles because I'll go to Charles. I know Charles is a hard worker.
Right.
Hey, so who's not working? Oh, this guy. Yeah, I was figuring you were going to say that, and then we talk. And then so when opportunities come up to hold the fucking camera, who wants to hold the fucking camera? Hey, when you ain't doing nothing and you're not part of the show, I'll hold the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll hold the camera. I'll do it. I want to be part of the show. I just want to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you won't get that spot. Yeah, and you might not want to hold the fucking camera, but hey, when you're not doing nothing, you want to hold the camera.
You want to feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
So, hey, thank you, Charles, for being on the podcast today. We really appreciate it. If you want to make sure to follow Charles on Twitter or Instagram at Mr. Chaztastic or Facebook at facebook.com/charles.villarubia.5. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. We appreciate it, Charles.
Thank you so much as well. I'm amazed we actually went an hour. I didn't even know what we would actually talk about.
Come on, brother. Believe. I was looking forward to this one.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, this is a great one. I really appreciate
hear
it.
from Charlie Wu.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I love you guys, Joey, Mongol, Sylvia, and Robbie. I love you guys. I hope you guys stay safe and hope we get back up and running because I'm like ready to be a part of everything.
I look forward to it.
We will be back.
Yeah, we definitely will. All right, Charles, you have a good one and be safe, my friend.
Charlie Wu.
All right, there we had Charlie Wu on the podcast. I really appreciate that. So,
Right.
Yeah, I really love that.
Having these shows is really a team effort. It's everybody. It's just not one person, not just one wrestler, the camera guy, the ref, the door people, everyone. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so it definitely is. Yeah, and Charles will be the guy that's serious.
He's like the production manager.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we'll say if we got our shit together, we'll break the ring down before the night before at training. But sometimes we'll say you got to get to the dojo at 6 a.m. because we got like a 8 a.m. call time, so which means we got to break down that ring in 30 minutes. And then, you know what I mean? And be out the door and ready to rock. So.
And he's always been there no matter what time,
sweating.
with a smile on his face.
Bob is another one. Is another one that I would have to say, Bob, you got to go home. What? Go home? We're not finished yet. Yeah, but you've been here all day. These guys just got here in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Bob would be another one that I would have to be like, God. And I would go, damn it. It's 1 a.m. And these guys are still, I meant to send them home. You know what I mean? And because you see, those 2 guys that were there at 6 a.m. are working their ass off at 1 a.m. and then there's people there, but they're standing around, right? Because it's small. Right. Only Stony Hill can grab, but it's like, why is Bob and Charles, right, that have been here at 6 a.m. They should be supervising at least at that point. But
and they're always the first ones back to the venue too, ready to put up the ring. Yeah,
definitely. So all right. So we appreciate everybody listening and watching the podcast.
What do we got for Tuesday?
Oh, Tuesday, of course. How could we forget what is coming up on the podcast? So this Tuesday, we actually got
dun, dun, dun.
Dom fucking Kubrick.
Holy shit.
Let's throw some Dom. So episode 8, Dom Kubrick is going to be in the house. I've been reaching out to the Rookie of the Year, Ray Romero Jr. So we should have him coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're packed. And I know if you're a Santino Brothers wrestler, Chaos is trying to get to you. We were only supposed to do once a week. And we said, wait a second, man. We got too many motherfuckers here. Yeah.
And football season's over.
Yeah,
so
football season over. So we have the time in the hour. Well, not yet.
Hey,
Right.
We're not yet. We got the big game.
But we don't do the
Hey, who you
podcast
going
on
for?
Sundays.
The Chiefs.
What are you going for?
Yeah.
The Chiefs.
I need the Chiefs. Here's why.
Why?
I need the Chiefs to win because the only team to beat the Chiefs with Mahomes and all their starters is the fucking Raiders. So when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, we go, listen, bro, we would have whooped your fucking ass again. The Super Bowl champs. They're not that good. They get lucky.
Yeah.
We all know that. And they're also part of the AFL. Al Davis. Al
Exactly.
Davis represent. You know what I'm
Oh.
saying? Yeah.
Come
I ain't going
on.
for Brady or the Bucks.
Dude,
Hey, I got hate for the Bucks.
Check it out. If you ask
Hey,
any real Raider
Chiefs
fan,
never
they'll-
beat
they'll
me in the
never
Super
go
Bowl.
they'll never cheer for the Chiefs.
Who?
Any Raider fan.
You know what though?
You're looking at the wrong. Hey, what about
Hey,
me?
I have no real dog in the fight, but
It's
I've
like
got respect for.
It's like
fucking-
this. It's like this. There's too much hate going on when a guy from SoCal makes it, and you go, fuck that motherfucker. No, dude, you go, one of our guys fucking made it. One of my boys made it. It ain't me. But one of our guys made it. That's how I look at it with
And
the
that
Chiefs.
we know, no matter what,
And-
the Raiders kicked their ass.
And
so
we
it's
whipped their
okay.
ass this year. So we need them to win because otherwise they're going to say, oh, but you lost to the Bucks this year, so you didn't beat the Super Bowl champs. I'd want the guys to win it all, the ones that we beat.
And
The
then that
blemish on their fucking
bragging
record.
rights.
Right? Taking
Bragging
2
rights.
laps around their fucking stadium. Fuck those guys.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just see Tom Brady winning it, getting the Senate championship.
Yeah,
Winning the
yeah,
most-
yeah.
What's wrong? I mean, come on, he's
Oh.
proven.
All right, guys, we're going to tune out. Have a great Friday night. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you on the flip.
Double dip.
All right, guys.